Hola, mi gente. Welcome to the Wine and Chisme podcast, where we blend the rich flavors of wine with the bold stories of nuestra gente. I'm your host, Jessica Yanez, ready to sip and spill the chisme with incredible guests from across communities of color. So grab your glass and join us as we uncork inspiration, one conversation at a time. Hola, hola, mi gente. Welcome to another episode of the Wine and Chisme podcast. Mi gente, I'm so excited. You know that we love our wine, we love our chisme, and when we get to combine those in the most organic way possible, it's even better. So today I have Latoya Jordan with me. She is one of the founders of Marble Wines. How are you, Latoya?
I am doing well.
Well,
Thank you for having me.
oh my gosh. Thank you. First of all, thank you for sending me a bottle of the Marble wine. And thank you for being here. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I have not, like I told you, I've not tried it.
Okay.
So the first time I'm going to try it is going to be here with you. But before we do that, let me go ahead and share a little bit about you. Latoya she was I'm guessing a military brat based on your bio.
Yep.
She grew up playing and living with people of all different walks of life. Her family retired in the Atlanta metro area, and that's where she continues to reside today. She attended Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, and received degrees in business administration and communications with a minor in political science, which propelled her to Wake Forest University, where she went to law school and served as the member of the Law Board of Visitors. So, girl, and look, I'm gonna say this. I know you put on your bio, you don't have a kids, you're not married, girl. Say like, well, until recently, until last year, I got married, but I was 46 when I got married, and
Mhm.
honestly, I didn't know if it was gonna happen or not. But I say no judgment, and it just gives you. Look, you get less gray hairs, and you have all the time to do what you want to do.
That's right. Well, it's something I never wanted to do.
And that's totally fine. Like, I
Hmm.
think we need to acknowledge that, like, for me, I never felt my biological clock ticking.
Hmm.
I don't have any children I've birthed, right? I've gained two amazing stepsons who I feel like are my sons, right? Who I absolutely love and adore and yell at when they don't like reach out to me when they're supposed to.
Hmm.
But you know what? Sometimes that's just not the case. Sometimes people just don't feel it, or sometimes it just doesn't happen. I was always of the mindset I thought I would, but I was never seeking that.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I sat down at 14 and planned my life out. And
Okay, what did that like? What did planning your life out at 14 look like?
well, I always had a mom that asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I went through the gamut of wanting to be everything when I grow up, even to being a waitress on roller skates, right? And so she would say, well, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but, think about what kind of life you want to live, how much money you need to make, and all of this stuff. And so I remember being a freshman in high school and I got this book of careers that like came in the mail or something. And I'm just sitting at the kitchen table and I'm looking at all the different things and I'm looking at how much money you make doing those things. And I was like, huh, I'll be a corporate attorney.
You're like, you know what? I like that salary.
That
I can
looks like a good
argue.
number. And so I knew that I really didn't want to get married or, have children. Interesting enough, I've been engaged several times, but just never married. But like you, I mean, I have lots of young people around me. So I
Mhm.
get to be godmom, I get to be auntie, I get to do all of those, wonderful things for my friends who have kids. And I enjoy that space.
Girl, I agree. I love being Tia J. I love being Tia J. Not only to like my sister's kids, but like my friends, my friends' kids and everything. And my oldest nephew graduated high school in 2021, and
Mhm.
I was able to take him to New York for a week. If I had
Mhm.
kids, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
You have this like you created something at the age of 14. You're like, I saw that and I want to do that. Nothing diverted you from that. Like you were like, oh, maybe I want to do this. Oh, maybe I want to do this. And you were only
No, once
14.
I decided I was going to go into law, that was pretty much it. Now, one of the reasons why I majored in business was just kind of as a backup plan, right? Like
Mhm.
if I didn't get into law school for whatever reason, I would have a backup plan with a business degree and a communications degree. But ultimately, I stayed the course. Um, the only thing I did not plan was having a private wine label. That came later.
Well, I am always fascinated because, particularly people that come from communities of color, unless you work in it, right?
Hmm.
Wine is not necessarily something that people are like they know about or their family knows about growing up. It feels very bougie. It feels very
Hmm.
like outside, like that's not for us. It almost feels like it's gate kept.
Yeah. And I grew up in a
So
household where we did not drink. My parents were not
r-
drinkers.
really, oh my gosh. So what was your oh my god, like that's so crazy. So what was your first experience with wine in any way, shape, or form?
Probably college. I had a steady boyfriend at during college, and sometimes when we would get together and do stuff, we would, have wine. I mean, at that time, it was probably like a cheap, $4 or $5 bottle of wine. But that was my first introduction to wine, is just dating in college.
What do you remember? You may not remember the exact wine, right? It's hard to remember the exact
Lambrusco,
wine.
Riunite.
Oh, okay, never mind. All right. Latoya's like, no, girl, I got this. I know which wine I had. Lambrusco tends to be a sweeter
Yep.
wine, though. So, what like I'm not a sweet wine person, but I feel like that's how everybody's like introduction is,
Hmm.
right? It either
Yep.
starts with like a white Zinfandel or a white wine, and then you get into rosé, and then you get into reds.
Hmm.
And a Lambrusco does tend to be pretty sweet, at least for
Yeah.
my palate. It's pretty sweet.
Hmm.
What was your thought? Do you remember like the feeling you had the first time that hit your lips?
Um, Not necessarily. I just enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, I think in college is when most people start experimenting with, alcohol.
Mhm.
And so, you're it's in it's in the flavor profile, right? Because a lot of times you're drinking um cocktails with like juice and
Yeah.
soda and something sweet, right? And so a Lambrusco isn't that far off from a palate perspective. I don't think, I think I probably went from a Lambrusco to like a Riesling.
Okay.
Yeah,
So Rieslings tend to be as sweet as well, but not
yeah,
as sweet as a Lambrusco. So you kind of
right,
toned it down a little bit.
right. Um, and then just, I just kind of kept trying stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think having grown up in Germany and, being exposed to different cultures and foods and things of that nature, like I'm a foodie. I like to try new things. And so um I really haven't encountered a wine that I don't like. I'm like you, drink sweets anymore. Like I don't like a sweet wine anymore. And that's probably why I made the product that I made, is because I was talking to a lot of my peers who girlfriends who were, drinking wine, and a lot of them were stuck in a sweet because they weren't really interested in the bitterness and the dryness of a traditional red, right? And you kept hearing, I don't like red, I don't like red, I don't like red. And so it became kind of my mission to make a red that my friends would like.
So this was your friends in Georgia.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That is so crazy because I'm here in California. I'm in San
Hmm.
Diego. And I feel like it's the opposite. People are like, I love red. I love red. Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny to hear that, right?
Hmm.
And it's, Georgia being the South. And girl, let me tell you, I can't even drink sweet tea. It is way too for me, right? And I lived in Texas for 15 years. I've
Yeah.
been to Atlanta. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, yeah, I can't like I was never like give me some sweet tea. I'm like, no, give
Hmm.
me iced tea with just a lemon. That's
Yeah.
all I need. I
Yeah.
don't so with a lot of the if Atlanta being Texas still being the South, but it's like a different South than I know than
Hmm.
Atlanta is. However, there's still a lot of common sensibilities in when it comes to like food and drinks.
Hmm.
So knowing what I know, living so long in Texas, I could see why people want like they tend to go for the sweeter wines
Yeah.
because every like girl, I mean, look at Texas. It's like home of Dr. Pepper, right? Home of Dr. Pepper and Pepsi.
Right. And we have
Every
Coke
yeah.
here in Atlanta.
Yes. So everything is like so sweet. It's so ingrained
Hmm.
in just that culture in that Southern culture of drinking sugary drinks and everything that
Hmm.
I can see why people lean towards a little bit sweeter wine and maybe a little bit afraid to try. Maybe not afraid of it, but just like, I don't know. So I
Yeah.
get it. But look, I haven't tried your wine yet. Let me see.
Okay.
Here's your bottle. Let's see if you can see it. With the back, there we go.
Yeah.
Marble Wines. I love the bottle. It's and so I'm excited. I want to make sure that doesn't smell. Okay, but this is definitely a light red.
Yes. It's a light red. The term that we use to describe it is approachable.
Mm-hmm.
So it tends to not be super offensive to anyone's palate. My girls who like the sweet, they can drink this. People who are more experienced wine drinkers, it's not a complex wine, but it's still not offensive to their palate either.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, it's definitely I would say I'm trying to figure out like if I were just to smell it.
Hmm.
It's kind of it almost reminds me of like in between a Pinot Noir and a Beaujolais. Like even just when you look at the color, it's not super dark. It's you
Hmm.
can see the bottom of it. It looks like just pink, almost like a dark pink almost.
Yeah. And that was really one of the reasons why we also opted to put the red in the clear bottle because the color came out so pretty.
Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's definitely not like you can when if somebody's like a Cabernet, a Cabernet, like that
Hmm.
deep, dark
Yeah.
burgundy color, right?
Hmm.
But this is like but you can almost see, like, you can't quite see through it,
Yeah.
but like it almost feels like you can, but
Hmm.
even though you can't. So, all
Hmm.
right, I'm gonna take my first drink.
Okay.
Wow, I was not expecting that. This is super light.
Hmm.
It is super light on the palate. Oh my gosh, I was not expecting how light it was going to be. Honestly, it's almost as light as a Beaujolais.
Hmm.
And so I always tell people if you're going to start with reds, if they're like, I feel like people kind of get scared of Pinot Noir, even though Pinot Noir is a light red. I'm like,
Yeah.
start with a Beaujolais. It's even lighter.
Hmm.
It's even lighter. And then they're like, if you're scared,
Yeah.
start with that. But oh my gosh, this is so good.
Thank you.
Wow. Honestly, So you say approachable wine. Me and my
Hmm.
husband have a term for approachable wines. We call them popcorn wines.
Okay. Yep. And you can
And
do it with popcorn.
yeah, these are wines. Look, before Olivia Pope on
Hmm.
Scandal was having her wine and popcorn, I've been doing that for years. She
Yeah.
really got it from me. I don't know how they found out, but she got it from me. No.
I tend to actually have it with just plain Lay's potato chips.
Ooh, that would be good too. There's a wine bar literally a block away from me, and they
Hmm.
will start and they will have like a sparkling rosé, and they'll give you potato chips to go with it.
Hmm.
So they're like, that's how they start. Well, at least
Yeah.
I know the owner, so at least that's how he starts with. But oh my gosh, the smell is really light as well. Like
Yeah.
you can tell just by smelling it that like it doesn't have that um sometimes you get like a Merlot or a cab that's
Hmm.
like that 14 point whatever, and you kind of get a
Hmm.
whiff of that alcohol at the end. Although
Hmm.
I still like it, but you
Yeah.
don't get any on this on the nose.
Hmm. Yeah. It'll sneak up on you. It's 13.1%
Oh,
alcohol.
so I'm looking at the tasting notes and it says, okay, so I am very, because this is a red blend,
Hmm.
2021 red blend, but it's a Petit Syrah and Chardonnay
There is a little bit of Chardonnay, and that's kind of what I think softens the,
and a little bit of and Zinfandel as well.
yeah, yeah, there's and our winemaker is Chris Christensen.
And Barbera. Oh my gosh, it really is a blend. Barbera
Yeah,
is in there
with
too.
Botkin wines. And so when I told him what I wanted to do, like I wanted something that felt like it was a natural, like if you are a Stella Rosa
Mm-hmm.
girl, right? I wanted something that felt like a natural transition for them. And when we started working on the blends, like he totally just nailed it.
This is a perfect transition from a white to a red.
Hmm.
Like it does have a tad bit of sweetness,
Hmm.
not too much. Like I said, I'm not a sweet person. I don't even
Hmm.
like dessert. I don't like
Yeah.
chocolate. I don't like my husband. The only time I eat dessert is if my husband like, no, we need to get something, and I have like a bite or two because I'm just
Hmm.
not about that light. I'm a salty, savory, umami person.
Hmm.
Um, but if you are somebody who wants to tiptoe into reds, this, mi gente, you want to support a woman-owned business, you want to like try something different out of Georgia, right? Because so often we equate wine with California. People didn't
But
even
still a
realize.
California wine.
So is that where you get your grapes from?
Yeah, so it was made from grapes in Sonoma County.
Love it, love it.
Hmm.
But this is such a like I can't the mix that you had that your winemaker did with
Hmm.
Petit Syrah, Barbera, Zinfandel, and then that touch of Chardonnay, which you would never expect
No.
because I am not look, and we actually have talked about it before. I'm not normally I'm when it comes to Chardonnays, I prefer steel barrel aged Chardonnays versus oak barrel aged because I'm not like that buttery heaviness that you
Hmm.
get from an oak barrel aged Chardonnay. It's
Hmm.
just not for me,
Hmm.
right? So how do you get from I'm gonna be an attorney, I'm gonna be a corporate attorney to
Hmm.
you know what? I think it's time that I partner up and create my own wine brand. Get me from A to B. Let's put it.
Well, it actually started with me working with a client who wanted to have a private wine label. And so when he told me he wanted to do it, I said, okay. And I mean, he didn't even drink, to be honest with you. It's just something he wanted to do. And so I ended up going out to California with him, going to vineyards. I ended up meeting with winemakers. I did all of the federal regulatory stuff for him, the state regulatory stuff for him. And in the beginning of the process, we talked about me having a minority stake in his, business. It just kind of felt like something that I should do since number one, I do drink wine. And I played such a heavy role in getting his product to market. And it was really small. It was like 10% or something like that. And so as we kind of got to the finish line where I had done all the work, he began to have a different conversation about what he wanted me to, do. And I said, nope. Um, and honestly, because I had just had previous business encounters with men that didn't go well. And so to have him come and change, his tune with me after all the work had been done, it was triggering for me. And so I said, nope. I said, you can have it. I said, I'll just charge you for my services. And I decided that day to do my own thing. Brianna, my business partner, she and I had worked together before on other projects. And when I was working on the other client's project, I was going to bring her in anyway to do what she does in the marketing space. She handles our social media marketing. And so I told her, I said, well, that didn't work out, but this is what I'm gonna do. And she said, great. She was like, I'll make you the same offer that you made him. And so we just decided to do it. And so we met up one day at a wine bar, and we talked through things, and we had a lot of wine, and we kind of put together a short form business plan over glasses of wine in Atlanta.
How did you guys I love it because now you have Marble Wines, but how did you guys even connect in the first place?
So we connected through a mutual contact. Brianna's in the music space. And so I think this particular mutual contact, she was like a music teacher or something for his kids. And I was working on a project with him as, an attorney and business consultant. And so, and honestly, I was working on a different project. So when I was engaged before, um, I helped his daughter self-publish a girl's journal. It was called A Girl's World. And so me and another one of my friends, her daughter and his daughter, they published this, journal that got some pretty decent recognition. They got to, do book signings in Barnes and Nobles, and they were recognized by the Florida legislature, which is where I was living at the time, Teen Boss magazine. And so it had kind of died down, but we were looking at, potentially picking it back up. And so we were looking for someone to kind of help from the social media marketing standpoint. And that's how I met Brianna. And so we just ended up kind of working on a couple of different things together that weren't really solely like mine or hers. And it just wasn't panning out. But
Right.
we knew that we liked each other and that we liked working together and that we worked well together. And so that's how we got Marble Wines together. And it's been probably the most successful thing that we've worked on together to date.
Wine break. Time to refill that glass and come back for more wine and cheese.
That is so crazy. So that what was it that the first person that you were doing the work for that he was did a bait and switch basically? What do you think? Do you think that he just didn't see the value in partnering with you, or he was just, or was it just you think it was a true bait, just a true bait and switch? Like, yeah, come do this, or do you
I
what was
could,
your sense? Because obviously, unless
yeah.
he said to you, but what did you sense when that really like when that was starting to go sour?
Um, I felt like, and it didn't go sour because I continued to work with him and on
Oh,
other
good.
things, and maintained a business relationship with him for a while, for several years after that. I never told him about Marble, but
Well, now he might know.
he might find out about it now. But so it did, I looked at it as it was just a business thing, right? I tried not, people have different reasons for why they make decisions that they make. And I can't spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out why they do it, why they made that decision. It was just very evident early on that it wasn't going to work for me. And I accepted that and I moved in a different direction.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just how I kind of try to deal with things on a regular basis. Like can be disappointing. You don't always get the outcomes that you're looking for, but you push forward. You say, okay, I see what that is, and you pivot and you move in another direction.
Yes. This industry tends to be male dominated.
Yes.
We are seeing more strides with women and everything, and women of color in particular making more strides in this. But being in such a male dominated
Hmm.
industry, as not only women but a black woman and a white woman coming
Hmm.
together in this business, what have been the challenges and maybe any surprising like thing advantages in regards to
Hmm.
that?
I think for the most part, people are receptive to wanting to hear our story because, again, you don't see two people that are so different it working together in this space to bring a product to market. And, when we talked about doing it, I felt like that was, an advantage for us, right? That particularly with the social and political climate being what it is today, that it was actually important for people to see two people who are totally different. I mean, not just from a race perspective, but like there's an age difference between me and Brianna. Like Brianna's like maybe 31 and I'm 43. And so, she's this, pop star that's in, music and a creative, and I'm, the attorney advocate and, all of those things. So we couldn't be two, you know, more different people than what we are, right? And so it just has turned out to be a really beautiful relationship. So I think that's an advantage because people see us and they want to know the story,
Mhm.
right? Like, how did you two come together? But I think we have some of the same challenges that a lot of new brands have, and that's on the distribution front, particularly here in Georgia. There are some challenges with, getting distributors in general, but definitely for minority brands, it's a common thing that I'm hearing. So that's another hurdle that we're working, on in terms of trying to get distribution here in Georgia. Um, I won't talk too much about it, but if you track my narrative about Marble, you can probably guess what I'm going to do about distribution in Georgia. So,
I mean, no, totally. I think it's one of those things, unfortunately, right? The with
Mhm,
everything happening right now. Actually, this is something, and I've wanted to talk to somebody about this, and I know it's going to affect people a little bit differently, these businesses,
mhm,
but right now with the tariffs being
mhm,
enforced, I most corks are not made in the US.
mhm,
Corks are made overseas.
mhm,
A lot of the bottles are also made overseas.
mhm.
How do you decide where, like, you can't decide where you're getting your corks really because you know they're coming from overseas.
Right.
How for Marble
Mhm.
specifically, how are the tariffs going to impact your business?
I don't think we'll have significant impact just because we're a domestic product. If we were, I keep getting emails we have a distributor in New York, for example. So as there's breaking news about tariffs, they keep sending us, emails about how tariffs may impact us. And based upon what I'm reading, I don't think that it'll have a significant impact for me from a production standpoint. I mean, obviously, if I wanted to, get grapes from, out of the United States internationally, that would, play a big part for us. So I don't see it impacting us that big right now.
Mhm.
But once we
Where are your
start,
bottles? Do you mind if I ask, like, where are the bottles? Do you know if they're made in the US or I mean, like, if
I
the
can't
glass
tell you where they're
coming?
made. I know the company that we ordered them from. Honestly, with Chris being our winemaker, he's been and him having his own private wine label, like he's been great in kind of just consulting us on, all of the places to go, like, oh, you can do this bottle and you can get it from this place and you can do this cork. I mean, our production costs may go up a little bit from
Mhm.
that standpoint. But I think we'll be able to manage it. I mean, what I'm, hearing, you know, maybe 10% tariffs
Mhm. And
right now.
honestly, right now, like, what I also obviously just not just by tasting it, it's a really great wine, but the price point is
Hmm.
really great. This is a
Yeah.
bottle that is under $20.
Yeah. And that's a thing too. Like we've been talking to some wine clubs about potentially, picking up the product because they're actually looking for products in our price
Mhm.
range, right? With everything happening in the market, a lot of people, particularly in DC, losing their jobs, the housing market kind of going down the tank there. Um, People aren't necessarily going to be reaching for that 60, $75 bottle of wine, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good time for us with kind of where we've positioned ourselves in the market.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was obviously with everything that's happening, any imported wine, the cost is going to be going up significantly. Um, but the other thing is, like, the US currently doesn't have enough production to cover all of the wine that's going to be going like up
Hmm.
like crazy. There's wines that just don't grow here, right?
Yeah.
There's just grapes that are not wines don't grow. The
Yeah,
grapes
I know what
grow.
you meant.
I just want to make sure I correct myself. I know
Yeah.
what I
I
said.
mean, you got to get champagne from Champagne, France,
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly, exactly. So, but if people are looking for that and reaching for that,
Mhm.
I think this is a wonderful time for the industry that's in the US, particularly when you're looking at brands that come from communities of color,
Mhm.
because I always like, and I always have said, I love smaller browns because you can experiment a little bit more.
Mhm.
Just like with what you did, I was like, You put Chardonnay in this red blend? Like,
Yeah. And
that's freaking
that can be
crazy.
such a point of contention for people. Like, I was very shy about even telling people that in the beginning because you meet so many what I called like the traditionalist
Yeah.
who are like, oh, well then is it really, a
Is it
red
really a red
blend?
blend?
And yeah, I mean, we get that kind of, feedback. We've gotten feedback about putting it in a clear, bottle when, I mean, it's like there's all these rules that they want you to, follow. And obviously I've taken alternative courses my entire, life. Um, I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so we have to push back on that. Like, you know, the color, the Chardonnay, the bottle, like these are all, these are creative
Yeah.
choices that we made in the production of our product. And we stand by them and we defend them.
Well, as you should, right? We're
Hmm.
currently this is your only wine is a red blend. What is coming why did you start with this? Is it because you wanted to give people a red experience without that really tannic, you
Mm-hmm.
know, bite at the end, like
Yeah.
especially with that you get from a California cab.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we started. Brianna is a red drinker. I'm a red drinker. So it was natural for us to kind of start there. But we do want to kind of, for our second varietal, we're looking at something with bubbles, which does tend to be a little bit on the sweeter side. But we are working with a fantastic winemaker. So we might be able to do something, creative to cut the sweetness out of that. But I think for us, we want to focus on fruit forward,
Mhm.
wines, right? There's some hint of like raspberry and in the
Yeah.
marble red. But we're looking at potentially mm, maybe a blueberry sparkling.
A blueberry. So, girl, I need to get a bottle if you do that. I have to taste what that would taste like. That is, that is, it sounds so weird, but I'm down for it. Like,
Hmm.
I'm that person who I will try anything once because you can't say you don't like it if you never try it.
Yeah. And I think we went back and forth between those two, like even in going through this process of kind of figuring out what I wanted the flavor profile to be. Like I was buying so much wine and just experimenting
I was about to
in
ask
my
you, like,
kitchen.
what is your process of
Like
trying to
I was
experiment?
like, and even with this blueberry sparkling, like I went and found like a blueberry wine, and then I found like a sparkling like Pinot that I liked, and like started mixing them in the kitchen and stuff like that. So like I just get in my own kitchen and experiment. And sometimes I'll invite a friend over and I'll be like, here, try this. And kind of get feedback from them. One of the things that we definitely did in the beginning of this process was we surveyed women. We know that they're the biggest consumers of wine. And so we talked to them about what they were drinking, what they liked, what they didn't like. We talked to them about what they wanted to see on the bottle. And most of the time, what women said they wanted to see on the bottle was representation. And so that's how we kind of got to, we knew we were going to put a woman on the
Yeah.
bottle, right? And, our woman, she doesn't necessarily have, race or, we did I'm looking at my bottle because I have it in front of me too, but um, you see the metallic sunglasses on
Yeah.
her, right? And if you kind of look into those glasses, you get a glimpse of yourself. And so that was kind of,
You do. I didn't even think of that. You totally
so
do.
we felt like that was kind of the best way for us to give everybody a piece of representation
You know
on the bottle.
who the silhouette reminds me of the woman? Sophia
Hmm.
Loren.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why, but I
Yeah.
kind of like a young Sophia Loren
Uh-huh.
with like it
Probably
kind
like the
of,
lips and the cheekbones.
yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
That's like I just was looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of what it
Yeah.
reminds me of.
So the concept was really created by she was 16 years old at the time.
Wow.
So my day job is in the transportation industry, trucking and logistics.
Oh,
And so
fun.
And so the owner of the company has a 16-year, well, she's in college now, but she was 16 at the time, but she's this really great artist. And so I told her what I wanted to do, and she came over to the office and we started whiteboarding things. Her just sketching on the thing of what about this idea? What about this idea? And so we came up with this idea of having the metallic sunglasses. And then you had to find the paper. And that was a process. It probably took us like 2 months just to find the paper that would allow us to, have that reflective design. And then my initial plan was to have her do the artwork, but as a young person, I don't know that she had necessarily the confidence to do it. So we ended up working with an agency in New York. I have a friend that works at an agency that manages artists. And she said, well, we just signed a new artist, and I think she'll be perfect for you. And so we ended up linking with Perrin Ford, who did the artwork on the model. She took like the concept and turned it into like this really beautiful art.
That is so cool because I think people don't like, when people think of creating wine, they just think of the wine itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, of course you're going to get a bottle, but I don't think people realize like all of the details. What was the most when you were creating this whole thing? What was the most frustrating part of that whole process before it got bottled? Before you
Mm-hmm.
got to bottling, what was
Mm-hmm.
like the thing that was making you pull your hair out?
Probably waiting on the state to approve the licensing for me to, like I have a broker's license, but we have our liquor's license and a broker's license and all that type of stuff. And so I live in a small county, and you basically have this exchange between the state and the county of what it is that you have to have from a licensing standpoint. And so the the county didn't really understand what I was doing. I guess I was maybe the first person that was kind of doing this. Like we have a vineyard here, but I was the first person that was kind of doing this private wine label. And they were like, and you go through the police department too, right, to do this regulatory stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that's
So
interesting.
they're like, well, so I'm emailing them, and they're like, well, why don't you just come down here and talk to us about what it is that you're doing? And I'm like, no, I'm good.
Girl, I would say no too. Be
No,
like, you don't know
I'm
my
good.
last. Let's just keep my face and my last name like away from you. Like
Uh,
thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm good. But it's like I was talking, so as I was trying to navigate that and get them to understand, luckily, like I have a neighbor across the street who I actually just saw him pull into his driveway, but he's on the city council. And so I was like, man, I really might need you to get involved and like help me out here. And he was like, well, let me know. I was like, I just don't think they understand. And he said, well, if they don't understand, I'll make them understand. And so I was like, okay. But we ended up, figuring it out. Like I had to have the two entities kind of talking to each other and being able to say, well, we don't really offer that. So then I had to get the state to say, well, then we don't need it. And so just figuring out the regulatory part of this is probably the most frustrating part. And still learning the laws, right? From a business owner standpoint, what you can do in every single, state. Like we have distribution in New York and we're in stores in New York. But then the distributor's like, well, do you have your New York marketing license? And I'm like, no, of course I don't have that.
So New York and New Jersey are very interesting when it comes
Hmm.
to wine and when it comes to sending wine.
Yeah.
Um, like
I
outside
can't
of
send
the
it to
state.
Jersey.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, in New Jersey you cannot because I like have had um wine sent because
Hmm.
of events that we're having in New York and stuff. And I have to send them to a friend's in the city
Hmm.
versus New Jersey, where, I might be staying. Or I'm not going to send it to a hotel, right? So
Yeah.
I'll have to like ask my friends, hey, can I send this to your business or whatever?
Hmm.
Because you can't send it. It's New Jersey is super strict. And
Yeah.
New York is even strict of what states you can send wine to. It's
Mm-hmm.
so it's so so interesting because every
Yeah.
state is so different
Yep.
when it comes to that management. Um, I can only imagine because great, like having the wine, tasting the wine as it's fermenting and becoming what you
Mhm.
want. What was that feeling with that first? Were you there? And what was the feeling as that first bottle got bottled?
We were not there, but Chris took video and sent it to us.
And how was
So it
that?
was
How was that
like,
feeling?
I mean, it's, I mean, I've never given birth, but
It's your baby.
it's like birth of a, it's like a birth of your baby. It's like it's finally here. It's in like I'm seeing it on the thing going around and I'm seeing the labels get slapped on it. I'm seeing that whole process kind of, happen. And I mean, like that was big for us, but like now that we have distribution in New York and we're in retail stores, like that's really been the exciting part, right? Because you get to see your product on the shelf.
So are you able to ship to all 50 states?
So yeah, so we do direct to consumer online as well, and we have our retail partner Vino Shipper that we work with. And so as long as the state permits wine to be shipped, like we said, New
With
Jersey,
the exception, no
yeah,
New
New
Jersey.
Jersey, and it used to be Alabama, but they changed the law. So we can ship to every state that permits.
Wow. And then you do have distribution in New York as well,
We do have
right?
distribution in New York, and we are aggressively working on distribution in Georgia. So,
That's so crazy. You are a Georgia-based company and you would think that you would already be in Georgia.
yeah, I mean, there's some challenges that we're seeing in the wine industry, with sales. Some of the wine distributors are, talking about the fact that I guess some products aren't moving and they're now reevaluating their inventory and looking at what products they're going to divest of and, things of that nature. So it's just a weird space. I mean, there's so many, anti-drinking campaigns going on now. You see a lot of young people aren't
Mhm.
drinking as much. And so that's the other issue with the wine industry. Like, I was reading a New York Times article that was saying like the wine industry has a young people problem, meaning they don't know how to market the product
Yeah.
to, young people. And so that's something that, we're kind of there's no real model for it, right? So that's something that we're figuring out as, I'm in my 40s, Brianna's in her 30s, right? How do we market to this younger demographic? I'll be honest with you though, my age group, we still drink. We
Salud. Yes, we do.
we still drink. It's not hard to market to them. It just has to taste good. But yeah, that younger generation, getting them comfortable, wine can be an intimidating experience for people too, right? And so I think that's why we also wanted to make a approachable blend because we wanted people to taste it and be like, oh, okay, it's not what I expected it, to
I
be.
had somebody tell me, I'm so sorry for interrupting, but just what you're saying, right? Because I've had somebody tell me the first time they tried a wine, they tried a red, and I think they tried like a Cab or a Merlot or something. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that was your first experience? Like, that's great. But they did
Yeah.
like it, which
Hmm.
is rare to still like try that and just
Yeah.
instantly like it, right?
Right.
Um, but I think you're right. There is like also there's a lot of things that are around now that weren't around then. You
Hmm.
have canned cocktails, right? So
Hmm.
now you're seeing people starting to get into the canned wine space. People want things that are easy, quick, that they can,
Hmm.
take to a barbecue, take to the
Hmm.
beach, take to the, wherever.
And
Uh,
environmentally friendly too. Like people are
yeah,
also conscious about that as well.
I thought I was gonna sneeze, but I didn't. That's why I stopped because I was like, oh, my goodness, sneeze. Um, and then also you have, but with all of these, you do have all of these, like, and then you have these sparkling water drinks, and you have
Hmm.
like all of these things that weren't really available. So I think I don't think that it's a flavor thing. I think if you a lot of people probably would like it, but you're right. I think one of the challenges is people don't not necessarily want to drink an entire bottle of wine. I mean, like me and my husband will kill a bottle
Hmm.
easily, right? But oftentimes, like I got a Coravin for a very specific reason, and that being that I wanted to be able to change the wines that I was drinking while I'm talking to people, but also if my husband, I don't drink beer. My
Hmm.
husband drinks beer, but if I want a glass of wine, I don't want to open an entire bottle.
Yeah.
If I just want a glass, right,
Hmm.
for dinner. And I think that's also a challenge as well, is because people feel like if they open up a bottle,
Hmm.
they're going to waste it. It's going to either go bad, or they feel like they have to drink the whole thing. So
Hmm.
I think there's definitely ways that can help that but you're right, like there's definitely a young people problem right now, and I don't think it has to do with flavor. I think it's has to do with accessibility in regards to, am I going to pay, like how much are they going to pay? Am I going to pay $20 for a bottle of wine that it's only me,
Hmm.
or I'm only getting 4 glasses. Believe me, I don't have this problem. But or am I going to pay $15 for a 12 pack of beer
Yeah.
or a 12 pack of a canned cocktail,
Hmm.
whatever. So I think that's a huge thing, is just the access, that having that easy accessible container.
Yeah.
What do you foresee for Marvel?
More widespread distribution, like that's really kind of the thing that we're focused on. Obviously, releasing a second varietal is also a goal of ours. And I think we just want to continue to kind of get the story, out there about our brand and make it recognizable to people. We've been very intentional about everything that we've done from, what's in the bottle to what's outside the bottle and how we tell our story. So we definitely want to continue to have spaces to tell our story, show these two very different but dynamic women, working together in business. And I think, that's what success ultimately looks like for us.
The one thing I forgot, or I'm gonna do a couple quick fire questions, but before I do those, I forgot to ask you, how did you come up with the name Marble Wines?
Oh, we felt like we wanted something that was reflective of like us, right? So when you think about marble, you can see like these different, like really beautiful mosaic of colors that kind of come together. So it's like they come together to create something beautiful, but you can still see the individual, you know, pieces. And so
Right.
that's really kind of reflective too of, my relationship with Brianna.
Nice. No, that's great. I mean, I was I don't know what I was gonna say actually. I was thinking, like, my brain started going one way and then it started going another, and then they both crashed and burned.
It happens.
It happens. All right,
Happens in your
so
40s and at the end of the week.
all right, we got some quick fire questions. Um, what's one wine myth you wish you could permanently debunk?
What's what
One wine myth you wish you could debunk.
that I could debunk? Um, that is bougie.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you could only drink one wine varietal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Um, I like a good Malbec.
I would say, I don't even know. I don't even know, but I'm asking the question, so it's okay. What unexpected food pairing goes well with the Marble Wines red blend?
Uh, honestly, West African food.
Ooh,
Mhm.
Me
We
and my
did
husband
a
just went to this amazing place a couple weeks ago.
yeah, we did a Galentine's Day dinner. And it was at a restaurant and we served marble wines and I mean it paired really well with everything like the oxtails, the suya, the jollof rice, like all of it.
Ooh. What has there been a memorable experience of somebody trying your wine for the first time that you were there
Um,
for, that you got to witness?
yeah. Um, I think I think they're all kind of memorable in their own way, but I love when I have someone. There was one particular woman at I think we were at like a bridal event, and she said, "I don't like red wine," and I said, "Well," I said, "try this one." I said, "I won't be offended if you don't like it." And so she said, "Okay, but I'm not gonna like it," and I said, "Okay." And so she tried it, and she said, "Oh, I could drink this one." And I said, and I made it exactly for you.
Okay. Favorite. Okay, actually, let's two more. What's the strangest place you found inspiration for your business?
The strangest place that I found inspiration. I guess it probably would have been, I don't know if it's strange, but I just think how I got into it, right, is unique. Like the
Mhm.
fact that it was a disappointing experience with a client that kind of fueled me to just do it on my own.
And favorite wine region that isn't where your wines are produced.
That isn't where my wines are produced. So I will say this. I don't know if I have a favorite wine region because I just like to drink wine.
Okay,
But
let's change it then. What is your favorite wine right now? Because I get it. Like I
mhm,
always say, it depends on the time of year, what I'm eating. Da, da, da.
yeah.
So right now, like at this moment, what is your favorite wine
So
besides marble?
outside of drinking marble, I will do a buttery Chardonnay.
What's your favorite type?
Jesus, the name is escaping me. But I'll tell you another one that I actually like that's a red. I like the Chaos Theory by Brown Estates too.
And Brown Estates is another black owned winery
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
Oregon.
Mm-hmm. So they have
See, girl, I know mine.
they have a Chaos Theory and it's really, really, I don't know if you've had it,
No, I haven't had it.
but it's really good. It's a red Zinfandel.
Ooh, I
And
do love Zinfandels. I do
yeah,
love
and
Zinfandels.
it's really good. And so I have a friend that he normally always drinks a Pinot Noir. And he came over and I said, I have something different for you to try. And he said, okay. And so I opened up the Chaos Theory and he was like, I really like this. So now every time he comes over, I make sure I have a bottle of Chaos Theory.
I thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to hear your story and everything. But before I give out your social, your website, all of that, I love to give people the opportunity. If there's something that I missed that we didn't talk about that you want to share, please make sure you have the floor.
I don't think so. I just, we want people to try the wine, We've worked really hard. And like I said, we were creative with this product. We've made some intentional choices that are outside of the box. We've received backlash by it. So I like to say that we're like anti-establishment. Uh, we have fun feeling like we're kind of rebels in the space. But we've had, and I just also want to just really thank all of the people who have supported us to get to this particular point. Um, you know, everybody that, we're in stores. We've got 2 stores that we're in Brooklyn, New York, just having them, give us a chance to get into retail. all of the different photographers that we work with for marketing purposes, um, the people that let us come and set up and do events without paying vendor fees. You know,
That is always a gift. That is for sure. That is always a gift.
right? All of these people right now, as we're, because we don't have like this long tradition, right? Like I can't tell you this story about us, starting in some vineyard in Italy, 4,000 years ago. Like we're creating new traditions today, right? And even, people like yourself giving us a platform to, educate people about our product and our brand. Like we really do consider everyone to be a part of like our founding family and our founding story. So we're incredibly grateful for the amount of support that we've received over the last couple of years.
That's awesome. I don't know if you know Angela from Uncorked and Cultured.
I
Uh,
don't know her directly, but I've been told to connect with her.
I'm friends with her.
Okay.
So I'll definitely make sure like I pass on your information. She's awesome. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I follow the
Um,
Facebook page too.
yeah,
I'm on the Facebook page.
she's a beautiful person. She's just a
Yeah,
beautiful person. So I will make sure to pass along your information to
perfect.
her as
Thank
well.
you.
But mi gente, like we're all so extra like aware of where we're purchasing. So let's make sure to, we're all about supporting our community, but we're all about supporting other BIPOC communities as well as women-owned businesses as well. So I want to make sure that you guys head over to marblewines.com and social media at Marble Wines to follow them, follow their story. Like I said, this is if you are not a red person or trying to dip into reds, this is so perfect. That's why I'm not even kidding how perfect this is for that transition. Or if you just want something lighter, like I tend to in the summertime
Hmm.
not drink as heavy
Yeah,
of the reds. This is a perfect
just summer
summer
wine.
red. Oh
Yep.
my gosh. This
Yeah.
is a
And it's
perfect
actually
summer red.
good, slightly chilled.
I could see that. I could
Hmm.
totally see that. It's so light, but it still has some body. It doesn't fall flat. Um, you definitely fruit forward. Like you can taste the raspberry in the back. Like I can taste in the
Hmm.
back, like coating the back of my tongue.
Hmm.
Um, like this is just a really great, and because it is lighter than a Pinot Noirs are one of those wines that you can have with red wheat meat or white meat. So this is
Hmm.
something you can still do
Yep.
with a red wheat. I don't know why
Red
red
or white.
meat or white meat. I'm tripping over my own words. I promise. Well, I haven't really had lunch, so maybe it's just the wine getting to me already.
Hmm.
And you wouldn't be able to tell that this is 13%, almost 14%.
Yeah.
It's really light
Yeah.
and it doesn't
It'll
have.
sneak up on you though if you're not careful. Eat
Well, if we
something with
continue
it.
with the podcast, you'll know by the end. I'll be like, that's great.
But and it's also like, a lot of people actually, I think Brianna has a tannin allergy. So like this is one of those wines that won't give you like the headache or hangover or that type of stuff. So like if you did indulge in the whole bottle, you would be fine the next day.
Fortunate, you know what? I think I was made for this life because I can have an entire bottle and feel totally fine the next day.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like I remember this is years and years ago. Fun fact, everybody. Years and years ago, I spent the night at my friend's house. We went through a bottle of wine and she was so sick. And I'm like, what?
Hmm.
Like maybe we went through a couple bottles of wine. I don't remember. Maybe it's a couple, but I was perfectly
Yeah.
fine. Like I will definitely feel it and get like kind of tipsy,
Hmm.
but I don't get those like those. I don't get the wine headaches. I don't get
Yeah.
those. I think I was built for this life.
Yeah. But if you do, Marvel is like generally one of those products that people don't have that experience with it. So that's something else you're trying to avoid.
Yes. Well, mi gente, like I said, go check out Marvel Wines. When you check out there, it also lists all of the states they're available in at the
Mhm.
bottom. So just check twice to make sure that your state allows shipment. And if you have any
It'll tell you
questions,
if it doesn't. If you try to check out, it's not gonna
yeah,
let you.
but make sure to follow. Make sure if you have any questions, reach out. They will get back to you.
We sure will.
And Latoya, thank you again. I'm so
Thank
glad I
you.
had a chance to like get to know you and get to know the Marble Wine
Absolutely,
story.
absolutely. And come over in California.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know. Until next time, mi gente.
Hola, mi gente. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wine and Chisme podcast. If you would like to hear more wine and more chisme, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Saludos.